Hi, it's Friday. The cats are circling, waiting to invade the studio. It's 3 o'clock. It must be Together Unlocked. Brought to you, as always, by Together 2012. We're a disability arts organisation based in the main London 2012 Paralympic host borough of Newham, and we're creating a Paralympic cultural legacy in East London and beyond. This stream takes place as part of our Join In From Home programme, and we're going to be telling you more about that very soon. But first, some introductions and some audio description. I'm Ju Gosling, also known as the artist Ju90. I'm artistic director of Together 2012, and I'm based in Canning Town in Newham. With me, where she's been locked down in my home studio for the last 12 months and counting, is our chair, the artist and activist, Julie Newman. We're going to come back to Julie as well for some introduction and audio description in a minute. And also, it's Friday, so we dress up to go out to stay in, following a wonderful tradition started by New Zealand back in March 2020, where they had formal Fridays, dressed up to go out to stay in as if they were going to the opera or out to dinner. Usually, we're a little bit broader than that, although I can see some very smart looking people in our other studio. So, yeah, let's go over to you for some introductions, some audio description, and tell us what you're dressed up to go out to stay in to do at the other end of that long virtual wheeled sofa.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to the weekend, I guess, for lots of us, hopefully. Anyway, so I am Robin Surgeoner. I'm not business together. I'm business director at Together 2012. You'd think I'd know by now, wouldn't you? After all these weeks of saying it at least 3 times a week. Um, so I am up here in Sutton Coldfield, as Ju said, at the far end of the long sofa, um, in sitting in our studio in front of our velvet backdrop, which is what keeps us warm on a day which today has brought us massive hailstones. So you can compare weather in a moment, but yeah, that was very exciting and noisy. Um, I am today wearing my lovely silvery grey hair. I've got blue eyes behind no rimmed black armed glasses. Still wearing my punky earring, despite being told not to by the out of touch youngster in the house. And clothes wise, I'm wearing you can just about see, I'm wearing a nice pair of kind of grey silvery trousers, almost sparkly, Tracy would be pleased to say. Um,
Actually, I'm
and
wondering, Robin, have you got the lights on in your studio,
um,
or is it
I
just hail?
I was going to surreptitiously put them on when you went to a photograph because I've just realised. So I'll do that when we go to a photo.
Well, I tell you what, tell us what you're going to do, and then I'll come back to Julie before we go to Josh so we can actually see him properly.
Okay, sorry about that, people. So I am also wearing a long-sleeved proper shirt, a dress shirt with a silver and blue tie, because it is Tracy's birthday. Not telling you how old she's going to be on Sunday, and it is
21.
also our 30th wedding anniversary on Tuesday. So we are going to stay out, go in one of those things to have dinner. We're going out to dinner at home. There we go. That makes all the sense you're going to get out of me.
Well, congratulations, Tracy, who won't be joining us for Art Club today as usual because she's not well. So, also, I hope you feel much, much better by Sunday. So, let me just spare your blushes and put us on solo for a minute. Julie, what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm the chair of Together 2012. Today I'm wearing a hard hat, a construction hard hat with a high vis sort of belty thing around the name. I'm also wearing a pink, I've been told it's high vis, uh, sort of horribly sort of claustrophobic. I don't know what you
Rain
call it,
jacket.
rain jacket then. Okay. I've got my usual gold and silver hair, my dark rim glasses. And today, what am I going to do? Can you guess?
No, but I was going to say you've got lovely pale skin and hazel eyes and silver coloured jewellery. And I
Mm,
know you think your glasses are always dark, but what I see when I sit next to you is dark green with light green around the outside.
I think that's probably to do with the light. Anyway, who am I? I'm Julie, and I'm going to find Bob the Builder. And do you remember Bob the Builder?
Can we fix it?
Yes, we can. So Bob and me and Lofty and Scoop are going to scuttle off to the Suez Canal and sort out that wretched, pesky ship, which has gone sideways across the canal and has caused massive, massive problems. It's stuck. And it's likely to be stuck for quite a long time. And I noticed they've got a little bulldozery thing and little tiny boats trying to pull it free. And I thought, no, this is a job for Bob the Builder. So Bob and me are going to go off and sort them out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julie.
Can I just say, as an afterthought, I was so impressed because The Guardian are running this whole thing. Send in your ideas, email your ideas in how to move the boat. And I thought, yes, me and Bob, we can do it. So I'm going to send that into The Guardian.
So you need a load of ping pong balls.
Yeah, please let us know what they say, Julie. So, Josh, who are you? What do you look like? And what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Well, I'm Josh. I'm the host of Together Unlocked, and I am a doctoral research student. I have long blonde hair that seems to have dried in a rather funny way earlier. So that's one way to put it down to it looking a bit strange, is that it dried funny, because it did. And I'm wearing a long sleeve, kind of whitey, creamy. If you imagine Magnolia paint, it's kind of that color. Long sleeve, kind of linen shirt. That's a 3/4 button kind of at the top, or a quarter button at the top. Because I am dressed up to go to the Bahrain Grand Prix, which is this weekend. It's the opening of the new season. And it is going to drop in temperature slightly. It's going to go to a chilly 26 degrees, as opposed to the kind of 36 that it is normally for this time of year. So I might have to take a coat with me as well. Yes, I'm wearing a nice white linen shirt to go and sit in Bahrain and watch some Formula One cars.
And no, later in the show, after 3:30, we have our regular item, something for the weekend, where we recommend things you can do mostly for free and always from home. So I'll come back and ask you when the Formula One is on. So finally, I'm Ju Gosling, also known as Ju 90. I have a self-styled hennaed Corona crop, mercifully hidden under a purple tie-dye bucket hat, I understand they're called. I've got pale olive skin, green eyes behind black plastic glasses. I've got black plastic wrist braces and silver and purple coloured jewellery. I've got some sort of purpley stone bracelets on my right wrist, and I've got a purple stone pendant in the shape of a whale's tail. I'm also wearing a dark purple t-shirt that says fabulous across the top left-hand pocket. And the reason I'm wearing that is I'm dressed up to go out to stay in to celebrate Purple Day, which is today, March the 26th. And Purple Day is a grassroots initiative that was started in Canada, but very much taking place in the UK this year. And it's an awareness and fundraising day. Usually it's more of about raising awareness, but there's a real accent on fundraising as well this year because, of course, like so many charities, these charities have been very badly affected. One of the reasons that I think they ask people to dress up and wear purple is epilepsy is kind of the definition of the invisible condition. And usually I really tackle people when they talk about invisible impairments because I say, well, you don't see my disability, you see my wheelchair, you see my stick, you see my braces. That doesn't really tell you anything. It doesn't make my impairment visible. But I think epilepsy is particularly challenging for people who just don't find they get, certainly according to the website and other people's discussions, don't find they get the understanding that they should. And of course, we have artists and participants who experience seizures, and and we've really seen the struggles that people go through, including, one of our regular participants spending months in hospital simply because the company decided to stop manufacturing the medication they've been dependent on for years. And just then to get the medication to be effective again takes months and months and months of trial and errors. There's also, we mustn't forget, the families with desperately impaired children who are just desperate to do anything to get cannabis oil. And despite the changes in the law, those supplies are still not coming through. And when they are coming through, it's literally thousands of pounds a year on a so-called NHS prescription. So there's lots to be wearing purple about today, but also lots of reasons just to maybe just read up a bit on it. You may, well, I think all of us really know somebody who experiences epilepsy. 1 in 100 people experience seizures, and for half of them, we don't know what the cause is, so which again is why so much more research needs to be done, but also why we should all be supporting those families in their attempts to get cannabis oil and other cannabis derived products, because we know they work. And it seems quite ridiculous that you can now smoke cannabis for pleasure across North America, but you can't get medical treatments for very, very ill children in the UK. So that's me having said my piece. I just wanted to add that last evening, I was privileged to be invited to attend the launch of next year's Holocaust Memorial Day, to launch the theme. And the theme is One Day. And it was a very, very moving evening. There were over 230 people attending. Survivors from the Holocaust in Holland and the Holocaust in Rwanda spoke about their own experiences, and in particular about one day that really impacted in a very, very negative way on their lives. But it's also intended to be a very positive theme and to produce lots and lots of ideas for different creative events. And in fact, I found it so inspiring that I hadn't written any poems at all for 9 months. I think I'd written 3 about COVID, which really still say everything I want to say about COVID. And I hadn't really got anything else to say, but I'm just going to read you this poem, partly or mostly really, so that you can also think about next year's Holocaust Memorial Day and how we can continue to build on the success of our special edition of Together Unlocked in January. It's always the 27th of January, to really raise awareness of how disabled people were impacted by the Holocaust and how that continues to impact today, including the way that disabled people have been so disproportionately impacted by COVID. So we think Holocaust Memorial Day is very, very relevant to all disabled people and indeed to the rest of society. So this is one day. One day, no one will go to sleep cold or hungry. One day, everyone will sleep safely in a bed of their own. One day, everyone will have access to clean water. One day, access to healthcare will depend only on need. One day, access to education will depend only on ability. One day, everyone will be free to practice their faith. One day, everyone will be free to express themselves. One day, everyone will be free to love who they like. One day, everyone will respect and value each other. One day, we will see one of us, not one of them. One day, there will be no more hate and violence. One day, generosity will become stronger than greed. One day, trust will triumph over fear. One day, everyone will put down their weapons. One day, the planet will begin to heal. Today, we are one day closer. So, like I say, it was a very moving and inspiring evening, and we will be working to deliver what we hope will be a specific standalone Holocaust Memorial Day intersectional event next 27th of January. But now it's time to move on to Art Club, unless anybody else has got something to add.
Just to very quickly add that on Wednesday's show, I talked about the Drake Music launch party for this year's commissions, and I did manage to attend that, and I was really impressed. It was the quality of the music, the 4 tracks that they played by 5 artists, because it was because one of them is a collaboration, so 4 pieces of music, and it was really good, and the quality, the kind of the breadth of people that were involved as well, and I think, I mean, I've taken lots of details. Hopefully I will be able to get in touch with these artists, and bring them into the show as we kind of progress into our next phase after Easter.
Brilliant. And I think we were saying, weren't we, that Drake Music Project actually was where we learnt to program and to do all sorts of things musically. I was very ill in 2020, and in 2021 I wanted to sort of do something that I hadn't done before or hadn't done for a very long time, as opposed to so it was something new. You could kind of achieve at what you were, something new, as opposed to look back and think, oh, I can't do that as well as I used to be able to do. And Drake offered a women's project with a very, very small group and lots of one tuition. They sent a tutor over to my house. Well, yes, I mean, the whole music setup in this studio was effectively facilitated by Drake, and they've done a lot of that. And at one point, they moved away for quite a number of years because of funding constraints, and really focused on delivering in schools. Because I think you were saying on Wednesday, they do a lot of work with adaptive technology. So they tend to go into special schools and really kind of, bringing in equipment that the individual schools can't afford, and expertise that they don't have.
That's my experience of them.
But I think since they've gone back to supporting individual musicians, it's had a huge impact. And that sort of holistic support you really can't beat. So we have a highlights and links page. It's on our website, www.together2012.org.uk. If you go to the main Together Unlocked TV page, where you may indeed be watching the show from, there's a link from there, and also a link from the pull down menu to highlights and links. Have a look at Wednesday's entry, and that has the link through to Drake Music Project's listening party, but also just their main website. So back to Together 2012, we run a year-round program. Well, our club's program, which we run year round, is aimed at disabled people and whoever else they want to join in with them at home. At the moment, we deliver our clubs through Zoom and by phone, and we have Art Club every Tuesday and Friday from 11 to 12. We used, when we had a physical venue, to run these sessions for 2 hours, but we really find that an hour of screen time is enough. But of course, people are very, very welcome and encouraged to continue with that work once the Zoom session is over. The focus we have on a Tuesday is crafts that are inclusive and accessible, but can also be used in fine art. And since we've been working from home, there's also even more than we previously had a focus on recycled materials. On a Friday, we focus on drawing and painting. What we do in a physical venue is offer people lots and lots of choices of materials, and then leave them to get on with whatever they want to do to find their own voice. But what we're doing on Zoom is a still life session. And well, let me start by just showing you some updates of the work that they're doing on Tuesday, and we'll tell you a little bit about how you can join in too. So this first image is by Duncan Bridgestock, who's been working on collages for the last few weeks using, basically pieces of recycled paper and card. He's used things from pillboxes, all sorts of things. To audio describe this, he's mounted a collage on a piece of white paper. It's predominantly pink, and there's a sort of two oblongs, one portrait, one landscape crossing over each other. He's used what looks to me like sticking plasters to in the middle of the top. So there's a sort of there's a sticking plaster square, then there's two oblongs landscape and one portrait below. He's put some dark pieces cut out, almost like arms and legs, and then there's there's almost like pink hands either side, but they're not actually attached to the black. And he's cut out the word Pablo and put it across the middle of what looks like the head. It's just very, very interesting and very, very abstract, very, very clever, and a great example of what you can do just by looking at bits and pieces that you've got kicking around, including your own medications and pieces of junk mail, bit of glue and some scissors, and there you go. So what the rest of, well, not the rest of the group, because they've also been doing collages, but the other thing people are doing at the moment is weaving with cardboard looms, just using scraps of wool that they have, or even unwinding kind of holy woolly jumpers and things. And this one is from Crystal P. Actually, I'm not sure it is. I think this one is Glory Sengos, and Glory is using a pale blue wool and weaving over it with more pale blue, but also this wool that's got oranges and pinks in it. It's very, very clever. They just take a piece of card that's either the back of an old cereal packet or part of a cardboard box, cut into it, set it up, and go. And this one, I believe, is Sophia's. Yes, so this is by Sophia. Sophia is using a pink wool, very, very cleverly done, and she's using different. Not quite sure that I've got the words right or even got the words in my mouth. But for example, she's got pink wool, blue wool. She's also using ribbon to tie through. They're really, really experimenting with these.
That's lovely. I was going to say that. I mean, that one's progressed so much since last week as well. You can, and it starting to look like as if it's a dress, or there's got a sort of shape, a profile to it.
Yes, I think some of it is unintended, but as we always say in art, when you go with the unintended and incorporate it into the creativity, I think one of the challenges with cardboard is you're winding the wool around the card, and then you've got as you're weaving it, the card is much more flexible than the wood that you'd usually make a loom out of, so that it's very easy for the wool to get kind of squished together. But like you say, what she's doing is using that shape that's been created and then turning it into something that's more like a dress. So I've just got a few shots from this morning's still life. I have a horrible feeling that when you're looking at this at home, we're looking at everything upright. But sometimes when it comes back to me for editing, YouTube lies them all on their side. All I can say is it will be on the highlights and links page, along with all of these images the right way up. And indeed, if you click on them, you'll be able to see them larger, because we really encourage you to join in with Still Life from Home. And in fact, we'd love to see your pictures. This is a lovely picture. It's a green glass vase with some, I think it's cherry blossom branches. Very, very effective on a white background. So there is shadow on the white background, but otherwise the picture really sort of leaps out with the greens and the different shades of light and dark pink. So I'm just going to take that off and show you some of the other people's work. So this is Crystal Peasy. And one of the things that they started doing last week was incorporating mindfulness, so that when they were audio describing the picture, They really, really thought about the different shapes and things. And I think you can absolutely tell the quality from the last 2 weeks compared to previously, that mindfulness is really working. Crystal's used paint. She's used a very bright green for the vase and managed to find different colours of the different pinks and purples for the flowers. And in fact, she managed to do two. So I'm just going to swap them over. So this is her second one, which is a very similar technique, but she's just seen the vase from a slightly different angle and done a slightly different shape.
I was going to say I like how the
Could
fine
you
line.
give me a sec, Robin? Oh, yes. Sorry, what were you saying about the last one?
Sorry, just that how the outline that she's used to create it with the color over the top kind of gives it a real depth.
Yeah, absolutely. This one is by Glory Sengo, and Glory's used colouring pencils, which is unusual for Glory because he often uses felt tip. It's very much about what people have got available. And again, you can really, really tell the impact of the mindfulness, because what Glory's done very successfully, I think, is taken the shadows and added them in a sort of darker shape, but sort of changed the shape of the shadows as well to make it very symmetrical. And it's made it very interesting and also rather abstract. So I'm just going to swap this over. And this is finally by Sophia. And Sophia, I think, has used felt tip. So Sophia, again, has managed to look at the shadow, and she's used blue felt tip for that, in the same way that she's used blue to outline the vase. And then she's got a very nice, I suspect there might be a bit of pastel in there as well, but it's very difficult to tell from Zoom photographs. But she's really got a beautiful shaping on the blossom. So what else? What did you think of them, Julie?
I think you're right. I think about the influence of mindfulness. I think it's quite profound when you look at the the effects that the artists have included in their work.
I think we're all on, we talked last year about our digital year, and now we realise it's more of our digital life. But I think one of the challenges, if you're doing a still life in real life, you can walk around it, you can stand up and, well, if you can stand, you can look down on it, you can look up at it, you can look at the way the sun impacts on it. It's very, very difficult doing some, or different and difficult doing something from a photograph. And that's where I think the mindfulness can really help you focus on the picture. But also, we've always had a policy, and you can see all of our policies on our website under About Us, of trying to make our sessions places we leave everything else behind. We're not there as people with benefit problems and housing problems and help, problems accessing services. We're there as artists, and we want to know who we are as artists and who other people are as artists, and just have a complete break for however long that club session or indeed other session is running. So there's always been a mindfulness element, but we've become much more aware of the benefits. So if you're feeling stressed, don't forget, you don't have to show your pictures to anybody, but just taking part in the Zoom club rather than just doing a picture from home allows you to come into that space with other people and feel that connectivity, but still with everybody working towards the same goal and without asking inappropriate questions. So if you've been thinking about joining one of our clubs, but you're worried, oh, it might be a bit cliquey, or I don't want to have to explain myself, or I hate switching my camera on, that's not a problem. We have an engagement support worker, Noel Guinan. Noel is able to take your details, work out with you what your access requirements are, and if that is to not have your camera on, or well, anything really, that should be absolutely fine. But just to reassure you, these are not spaces where we ask lots of personal questions. We positively discourage it, because we're, like I say, we're there to be artists. So finally, under Art Club, before we move on and tell you more about our Join In From Home program and recommend something for the weekend, Our regular presenter, Stara Plurger, has another inclusive, accessible arts activity to share with us. So this is Stara.
Hi. Hi, I'm Stara. This is Merlo, the dog, and I made a tree in the wood. And I was laying down next to the tree and take a photo. It was good. Bye.
So I deliberately didn't audio describe that beforehand because it kind of gave it away. But just to explain, Stara starts off by sitting indoors on the sofa with her assistant's dog, signing to her PA Hannah, who interprets. Then what we see is Stara gathering fallen branches in the wood and arranging them very, very effectively into the shape of a tree, including gathering up all of the fallen leaves and putting them over the branches. And then she lies down so that Hannah's able to film her almost as if this tree was upright and she was standing against it. What I loved about that is it's the first time we've had any eco art on the show, and this is episode number 138. But eco art is something that I've been very interested in for a very long time, and one of the guiding principles is you leave no trace. You don't interfere. And that was a beautiful example of being able to create something without having any impact. There was no digging, there was no cutting, there was no. I mean, eco art's really kind of come and gone in different ways. So at one point, people were sort of throwing dye into streams in gay abandon and photographing it and going, oh, this is eco art. And then, of course, people came along and went, well, it might be eco friendly paint, but you still shouldn't be doing it. So I think the boundaries have become ever tighter, and I just thought that was a really beautiful example. You may well not have access to woods or park, but have a think about what you could do with just the leaves that are blown onto the balcony of your flat or around your front door. Maybe you could put them onto some paper, organize them, paint them, do different things. What did you think, Julie?
Very Richard Long. Richard Long was well, I suppose he still is. I think he's still alive. Is a landscape artist in the northeast, isn't he?
Yes, I mean, I love Richard Long's work, and we talked about Richard Long on the show before Christmas when we had a wonderful virtual walks project, because what Richard Long does a lot of is walks and then writes about the walk or photographs the walk. Or again, I think things have changed, because what he used to do very often was arrange stones that he would find into a shape or carry a stone from one place to the next. And now there's lots of local authorities and things telling people they can't take stones home. So, but I think, to be Richard Long, you've got to be fit enough to do an awful lot of walking. And I think what Stara's doing, as always, is much more inclusive. So thank you for that, Stara. We'll look forward to more very soon. And now I'm going to put on a short video that will tell you more about the activities that you can join in on our website. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. So, for example, we have an arts club which usually operates on a Tuesday with craft-based activities and on a Friday morning for drawing and painting. Here you can join in with the arts club's Hands project and celebrate your uniqueness and membership of the human race. There are full instructions on the linked page here. But essentially, we invite you to draw around your hand on a piece of card. It could be an old cereal packet. Cut the shape out, turn it over, and decorate it with anything you would like to do. It could be paints, crayons, glitter, collage, beads, leaves, anything you can think of. Photograph your hand or hands and send it to us at tv@together2012.org.uk. We'll add it to our video installation and share it on social media. Our music club usually meets on the first Friday of each month. We have an open mic session and we invite everybody to play along with percussion instruments. So here you can learn how to make your own percussion instruments from recycled materials. And you can also join in a percussion workshop from last summer in terms of Carnival Percussion. So these three instruments are used most often in Carnival. We have a shaker, and a go-go, and a hand drum. So this is how to make a recycled shaker, a recycled go-go, and a recycled hand drum. You can also, if you're technically minded, make your own tactile sound instrument. This does require a few simple electronics, but is a very interesting and exciting project as part of our Vibrafusion ongoing work. You can also listen with Together. We have Spotify playlists created by Robin Surgener, also known as our TV presenter Angry Fish, and we also have two classical music playlists from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, including one that's uniquely suited to people who are feeling very unwell. And of course, that video's getting rather old now. And one of the things it should have said is there's now 3 Spotify playlists from Julie, 2 for LGBT plus History Month, and 1 for International Women's Day. So we're going to be updating that after Easter when we're back with our new Friday show, Something for the Weekend. But now here is something for the weekend as it is today, which is our recommendations for things to do from home, on or offline this weekend and going into next week. What's the first thing you're recommending, Robin?
Okay, well, sticking with the theme of it still being March and celebrating the achievements, lives of women. I'm recommending an article. I'm not sure I've ever recommended an article. It's a blog article about a woman called Jane Arneson. Now, she is an Australian musician, sound engineer, production engineer. It looks I mean, I've read quite a bit of it, not all of it. I mean, so I will be reading it over the weekend. But it's kind of, it's stuff in there about, technical things that she does, but it also tells quite a story of her journey, of how she started in Australia, kind of forced her way into the industry in Australia, but then almost gave the whole thing up due to the kind of the attitude, the attitudes of the men in the Australian music industry, and then has ended up. She's now in Berlin, doing kind of multimedia productions in a whole manner of stuff. And a bonus, I mean, as a music person, a bonus that comes with reading the article is, and I didn't realize, was I suddenly got a thing telling me, oh, here's a series of samples that she's created as well. So some, drum tracks and stuff like that are her own um, creations. So, and it just, so anyone out there who's interested in music, it's really good because there's some really, really good technical stuff in there. But I think, yet again, to be able to show that, women are fighting their way through a system that has historically been very set against women being part of it, is a good thing to show.
Yes, I mean, I think that's one of the benefits of Women's Month throughout. It's women in all sorts of fields who don't get the coverage that they would get. And I mean, I think it's been very sad to see women writing over the month about why they don't want to be in the public eye and the kind of persecution that they get from the media and the treatment that they get from the media. And speaking of musicians, there were all these articles yesterday about Pete Doherty from the Libertines, who's now living in Paris, and after an unfortunate drug arrest yet again 18 months ago. The whole point of this article was he was having a lovely time with his family. Well, he must have doubled his weight. So there he was with a very big belly hanging out and almost the builder's crack showing in his tracky bottoms, sort of slobbing along. Oh, good old Pete Doherty. Look at him chilling out. Isn't it wonderful? And yet these women, if they leave house without, what they say is, we cannot go out without full makeup on. And there were just numerous examples that people were referring to, individual celebrities of how they'd been absolutely, every single piece of weight gain, whatever they wore, whatever they had on their feet. And I don't have a good memory for names, but I can think of loads of photos like that of women celebrities with the most merciless headlines, which these days, of course, is also followed up with kind of just waves of trolling. And I just thought it was a classic example of how men and women are treated differently. And you think, no wonder they don't want to put their heads above the
I mean, I think an example of that is if you look at two people with perhaps similar-ish trajectories. If you look at Kerry Katona and how she was treated when she put on weight, drunk a bit too much, and was absolutely, torn apart across the whole media. And yeah, you're right.
She's certainly one of the ones I was thinking of. Thanks.
Yeah, and then yeah, and yet other people kind of it's almost their lifestyles almost become celebrated, even though they're really negative ones. Alex Higgins, the snooker player, amazing snooker player, George Best, and they become kind of anti-heroes in a really strange way. But all of those other things aren't picked up on. Whereas, again, if it was a woman that was behaving in that way, who will?
Well, can you imagine Britney Spears if she was, can you imagine somebody's father being appointed to take over a male musician's career? I mean, there's been huge numbers of male musicians that have had very spectacular breakdowns and very chaotic lifestyles. Nobody's suggested their parents should be in charge, but still, moving on. So we'll be flagging that up, the blog that is under something for the weekend. I don't think you need to see pictures of Pete Doherty. Julie, what are you recommending?
I went to the iPad app store and I looked up apps of the day. So I've got two apps I want to explore over the weekend. One is Mystery Island Treasure Hunters, which is one of those cleaning off things so that things are revealed. It's supposed to be about treasure in the deep, the ocean deep. The other is another one called Christopia. They're both recommended for the day. And this one is one of those get out of the room puzzles. So I'm looking forward to the challenge on that.
I didn't know there was an app of the day. So
yeah.
Is it just about highlighting better apps, or are they cheaper that day or free?
No, they're both free. I tend some that they highlight are paid for, but I tend not to go for those. Not unless I I know that they're going to be okay.
And I imagine Google Play has something similar. Josh, what are you recommending?
So the first thing that I recommend is tied to my outfit for today. I did try and point it off screen, but I used the wrong arm, so it's waving. You just can't see it. Because the left and rights are all reversed, and it still confuses me a year into the show. Yeah, the Formula One Grand Prix kind of season opener is this weekend. So qualifying is tomorrow, and highlights of that will be on Channel 4 at 6:30 in the evening. And then race highlights are on Sunday evening at 8 p.m. I believe. You can watch it live if you've got kind of Sky Sports, but I think that's one of the few subscriptions I don't have.
Yeah.
So I'm slumming it and watching the highlights for 3 on Channel 4 in the evening. But it's shaping up to be an interesting race, not knowing how quick different teams are, but actually like it could be quite a lot closer than it has been in recent years. The last few years, one team has kind of absolutely dominated. Whereas it looks like potentially this year it might be closer, but Mercedes might turn up and just hammer everybody because that's what Mercedes do. So who knows? But fingers crossed, it'll be a good competition.
So I know already what Julie will be doing when she's not playing with her apps. Then, Robin, did you have something else for us?
Indeed, I have. I mean, actually, it's still on a music tip. But every year, Six Music do a festival, and they just got it in before lockdown last year. Where this year, obviously, we are in lockdown, but they have still managed to put something together. So actually, starting today, and throughout today, tomorrow, and Sunday, kind of scooched into the shows that they're operating. They've got lots of new live performances that they kind of commissioned, taken out venues in a very COVID safe way, but and created performance bubbles for those artists to make and deliver live performances, and for lots of artists that's been out giving them the first chance to air new work, which is really, really exciting. And there's a really, I mean, like radio, Six Music is my favorite radio station, just because it has such a broad range. It'll play things from jazz recorded in 1903 to what something's going to sound like tomorrow, almost. Um, so and so it has that, and then they deliver that, so it's not like it's a festival and it's all the same kind of music. It's a really broad spectrum of music that's programmed. And then, because obviously there is still some of the COVID restrictions, what they're doing is also putting in performances of certain DJs favorite performances from Six Music festivals gone by, and again
work very well, can't it? I mean, we've seen other festivals, including they did an entire Eisteddfod last year, didn't they? Just judging from previous performances. And yeah, I think it's great to have some of those back again. We don't often look back enough, do we?
Yeah, and so the links there. I mean, and I looked at the site quite extensively before coming on air, and obviously you can just listen to it on Six Music, but it's also available on BBC Sounds and some of it on the iPlayer, because a lot of the performances were videoed, so they are also going to be available if you would like to watch as well as listen.
And I find them absolutely gripping. I think because we're so used at the moment to seeing people broadcasting from home, that when people are able to get into a covered, secure environment, have a proper sound engineer, have a really good setup, but it's still very immediate. There's something that you can tell that performance has been created since last March, and I've just really, really enjoyed it. And yes, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot more streaming coming from proper venues in the future, however much kind of people can't open economically because of social distancing as yet. And yeah, it sounds great. So I'm definitely going to watch the videos. I think there's just something absolutely mesmerizing about it. Julie, did you have anything else for us?
Yes, indeed. As a gardener, I'm very interested in the garden and picking up from your flowers on Wednesday, which were absolutely delightful. This weekend is the full moon, and it's known as the worm moon because of the worm casts. As the earth warms up, the earthworms come to the surface and they leave casts. So I think for any gardener, it's quite notable time. But I'm going on to the Royal Maritime Museum in Greenwich site because it's got loads and loads of interactive sort of bits and pieces about the seasons and the astrology and so on. Did you know that if you look at the moon in Australia, it's upside down?
Do you know, I never noticed that when we were there, but
No,
of
I
course it
didn't.
makes absolute
Yeah,
sense. I think we were so jet lagged the whole 3
yeah.
weeks, we probably wouldn't have noticed if it was doing a little dance all on its
So the
own.
man in the moon turns into a rabbit.
I think, like so many of us, we've not looked at the moon as much, before this year. There's nothing like being indoors all the time for looking out the windows more, is there? So, yes, that sounds great. Anything else before we move on to Robin and his weekly contribution to our live music?
The other thing I had was another sport one. So the Six Nations had actually finished technically. The last week was last weekend, but this evening at 8 o'clock, France play Scotland in a kind of make-up match that was cancelled because of a COVID outbreak. So it's really interesting because depending on which of about 3 or 4 different outcomes in terms of points differences and bonus points and who wins and loses and all sorts of things. The top 3 or 4 positions of the table for the Six Nations are basically still in flux until this game happens. So I might not watch all of it live, but I'm certainly going to be kind of keeping an eye on it and certainly watch the second half because it should be really interesting to kind of see how the different teams go about it, because one team needs to kind of not lose and they'll get second, and another team needs to win by a big points margin and all sorts of things to win the overall thing. So it's going to be quite interesting to kind of see the strategy of how that plays out. And it's always kind of interesting kind of looking at those things going into it, how different teams are going to play. And even though I am partly Scottish, I'm kind of rooting for France to win because I think they deserve it. They're probably the best team this year. So it'll be interesting to kind of watch Scotland just kind of park in the middle of the field and say no, and kind of watch. It should be quite interesting to see what happens.
Ju, the clocks go forward. I kept forgetting to say the clocks go forward this weekend. Everybody remember.
Well done, Julie, because we've just got a minute left, as it turns out. Not because before we finish, but before Robin entertains us with some live music. So on Monday coming up, we have our usual weekly update. We have Relax with Awa. We'll be talking photography and film and much, much more. Wednesday, we will be back with the Clockwork Paralympics, sport and gaming, and lots of poetry. And then we take a break for Easter and come back on Fridays only with something for the weekend. But you will see lots of your familiar favourites like the Clockwork Paralympics continue on a Friday. So thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Have a great weekend, whatever you're doing. Yeah, stay home, stay creative, and stay well.
Bye, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Oh, so it's over to me. So I decided that I would do a song today called Don't Never Give Up. This has been on the show before, but I just think, we've been doing this for just over a year. We haven't given up, and we're all still fighting coronavirus. So here goes. Don't never give up. How many names will die in vain? How many people have to suffer the pain of the bullies and the bigots in a cruel, cruel world, when the weak and downtrodden remain unheard? How many brothers have the rug pulled from under in their struggles and their triumphs as they try to recover their integrity? A coat of arms to protect us from our sisters and the evils of harm. You gotta fight, gotta head up high. Don't show a reason for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. You gotta fight, you gotta hold your head up high. Don't show a reason or a weakness for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you've gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. We're stronger than you think, which takes us to the very brink of self-control. Or certainly civil disobedience, as our battle cry rings for the right, for a life, for a purpose and an income, not the luck of the dice. We'll will and stand together, we won't self-destruct. We'll chant for all our people, don't never give up. Gotta fight, hold your head up high. Don't show a reason for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. You gotta fight, you gotta hold your head up high. Don't show a reason or a weakness for them to pass you by. You gotta be strong, you gotta hold on tight. This is a war where courage will win the fight. Oh, please, listen to me, please. Not gonna get down on my knees. Gotta find a way to release, to set my people free, please, please. Listen to us, please. Not gonna get down on our knees. We gotta find a way to release, to set our people free, please, please. Listen to us, please. Not gonna get down on our knees, 'cause freedom is the key to our release. Oh, please, listen to us, please. Not gonna get down on our knees. We gotta find a way to release. We'll wheel and chant together, we won't self-destruct. We'll chant for all our people, don't never give up. Don't never, 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 never give up. Oh, we'll wheel and chant together, we won't self-destruct. We'll chant for all our people, don't never give up. Don't never, 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 ever, ever, ever give up. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. Don't ever, ever, ever give up. That's a message from Together Unlocked. That's a message from Angry Fish. Don't ever, ever give up. Have a fantastic weekend. See you Monday.